And I sat in my spot. It was still dark out. And I asked, what is it that you want to tell me about this weaving? And there was this notion of a thread that's been continuous. And one of the things about threads is they show us, they kind of make it look like a line. You know, if you pull it tight and you think, well, that's a line. And the notion of lines are something that are thought of now as divisors on one side of the line or the other. And really it's not. It's about connecting two points. And Strupi is going to speak to that. And what I really wanted to mention about the 444 is what came to me is Toto. Remember Toto in The Wizard of Oz? Jumped behind the curtain and everybody followed behind there, and suddenly there was everything that was going on. Well, Toto came to me this morning and said, I'm not a dog. I am the omnidirectional, timeless oracle, Toto. And Toto said, you know what? We got to share that with Strupi because it's going to go somewhere because he's so full of wordplay. And that's what happened today. And so what I'd like to do is introduce Strupi and Stephanie and let them go at that wordplay and the new lexicon that they're helping us evolve into to be sphere. So Stephanie's work grows out of the space between art and nature. Her work invites us to wonder, play, expand, and explore. Stephanie believes creativity is our birthright and finds many ways to guide and facilitate that process in herself and for others. She is an immersive artist, a photographer, an educator, bridge builder, and weaver. Her work connects us to the nature of who we are and ultimately where we each fit in the cosmos. Strupi is another weaver of thoughts, words, and structures, mover of music and translator of triangles, deeply involved in the way of the spheres, sharing synergetic senses. And I am just so happy to have them here with us. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to begin because we've talked about this growing of wisdoms, where we are growing information in, and we're holding this container to grow something here about unboxing the sensing and the senses. And so I'm going to read something because I wanted to make sure I tap on a few points and then share something, and then we'll weave back to Strupi because this story weaves in with Strupi and what he's sharing, and we can come back to that. So basically, just want to say hi, I'm Stephanie. I'm a artist on Spaceship Earth, and I'm part of a spiraling upward collective born in the belly of this design science studio ship. We call ourselves Fuller Feedback Systems, which I've co-created with Strupi Pohl, a fellow cohort from the studio, the first studio last year. I've been wanting to make a playground of life for a long time, and when I met Strupi, I knew this would be possible. So due to my life experiences and the water that I came in on, and let's just say, just so that we overlay time. So we look back in history and we overlay time now. My grandmother ran after witnessing horror to this country as a young woman and left her family who perished in what was now called Ukraine. We've been growing a world of war without knowing it, as long as it's been coded in us. Us against them, this one, that one, the best, one on top, these boxes and boxes that are stacked and they're about to topple, yet when we change the shape, it changes everything. And it opens the potentiality and it frees the energy so it can come into resonant frequency. So it's time to set the record straight by adding in true structure, tree structure. So coming in on a lot of trauma lines is what a lot of people came in on. And a lot of pain has already been endured. And it created a wave, like a field, if you can imagine, is the way that I see it. Maybe we can call it mythos because it's how I see it. But and also what was taught to me. So basically, like this people were born in to people who had no ability to hold the space for them due to the fact that the structures that we built can't hold us or the sound. And we really built a really limited system by boxing ourselves in, including our senses and our sensing. So we've all kind of been pulled in this system. And because when people are affected by the kind of trauma that's existing right now, right across the world, and some people right in their backyard or right in the world they live in this moment, hearing the sounds of it and feeling everything that comes with the fear of a time that we're in, all is felt along these lines. And there's not probably a nervous system today that's not affected by this. And if it is, it's because it can't hear the feedback of its own loops and it can't hear its own heart. And so we're reweaving all of this. So basically, like, me coming in, I needed to integrate some things that weren't integrated. Like things didn't line up, my ears and my eyes and all these things. And I had to spend a lot of time spinning and working with somebody. Basically, I did spend a lot of time in something that was called sensory integration therapy. And so, the person who created that basically is named Mary Kawar, and it was called astronaut training. And so, right before my kids came in, I realized that there were certain things that I really couldn't do and couldn't understand. And I had been at a therapist at the time, and she said, "You know what? I think you really need sensory integration." Like anybody before that would have called me like really spastic in my body. Like I just, as a little kid, every meal I enthusiastically knocked over a glass that shattered all over the floor because myself in space and time wasn't so obvious to me. And so basically in this, I worked with one woman named Rita Montez, and I'll call her a synthesist because she really pulls from all different places, and she's a sensory integration therapist and has a practice and basically a collective where they work with kids on the spectrum. And let's just say that her waiting list has been so long around the block for 15 years that some of this hasn't even been shared in the way that she's sharing it. So I have this audio, and like just to say, my work is to bridge back so we can have fuller feedback systems in both, like I'm sort of like in both worlds of bringing us back to nature. And I'm also very involved in VR and with another cohort here on global education with Brian Kravitz, where he's an Imagineer of that whole movement of the connected experience with that. So basically, as fuller feedback systems, we're involved in different ways of bringing it back into the system. So come like full circle here to Stroopy is that the models that he knows how to build and the way that he works like Bucky and nature shows me that we can bridge and build these things, because when we hear Rita speak a little bit, we can hear that what we've built really isn't for us. It really has closed us down. And so in the sharing this, it's to open back up and start to talk about how we're really fascia and we're really weaving this web and we're really growing new neural pathways. And there's a lot of evidence and work behind it already where they're working with kids. And I'm just going to pull the spectrum back into reality here because we've been calling something out on the spectrum, but we're all on a spectral field. We all have a place on it. We're all glowing in our own ways on it. And some are further out than others. And some have a different sense of gravity than others. And some have so much ability to pick up so much information in such a small amount of time that the world that we've created around is so overwhelming to people that they shut down. And those who shut down in that, really, so many of them are Einsteins and the most creative people we can think of, but they don't know how to navigate in this box world that we built. So we're trying to reweave and grow that back together. So I would love to share a little bit of audio, and I'm not sure how it will sound. And if it doesn't sound good, please tell me right away, because I'm almost thinking I can speak it with her and share it, because there's some of this that just is so beautiful to share. So if I can have.
You should have controls, and you also, if you're playing it from your computer,
Yeah,
just click share, then
share sound,
and then click advanced,
okay.
And then there's share computer audio. So you would specifically just share audio. You wouldn't have
computer only. Perfect. Thank you.
There you go. Perfect. That's it. You're
so
good.
Just tell me right away, because I have it up a little bit because it's sounds a little low. So if it sounds, just give me Stroopy.
On that note, Stephanie, if I may,
yes, please.
your mic is actually very low, I think. So if you could maybe while the audio is playing, but just see if you can turn your mic up a little. I can't,
but thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
For this kid to pay attention.
Okay, wait, hold on.
And support.
Yeah, we can hear it well.
Okay. I'm going to play it at the beginning.
As part of this narrative of pieces that come together. And I think that when I think about development, right, we we come in at the mercy of gravity, right? And all of our work is to come up against gravity with as much grace as possible. And it's unique to humans to do that in a bipedal way, which is way more complex than a quadruped creature. You know, it's a very, very different, you know, our evolution has created this complex mechanism and this great big head and this great big brain. And to get the physiology of upright engagement that is balanced and attuned, and then to get the ears and the eyes to work in unique ways. And there's so much variety therein, right? Given inputs in the development, given inputs in utero, given inputs intergenerationally, you know, what the genetics are cueing for as that little being is gestating, and then they come out and then they have to come up against gravity. And that at first you're completely at the mercy of it. You know, you don't have your muscles and tendons and ligaments aren't ready. The only thing that's really ossified are your clavicles and your mandible so that you can feed. You know, the rest of your bones are pretty malleable at that point. And you think about, you know, what does it mean to have the support for the efficacy of the organism to emerge, right? And a lot of that is being really affected by how we are caring for and raising and positioning little people. And, you know, there was a lot more body to body, you know, generations before. There was a lot more, you know, I'm crawling on a natural surface that has all sorts of dimensionality instead of I'm on a flat floor. There was a lot more I'm on my belly and coming up against gravity as our original state, which would have been quadruped, right? And so there's a lot to be learned in that, but we're putting little beings on their backs, and then their visual systems are developing without the contextual reality of being on their bellies and coming up against gravity and dynamic engagement. And so a lot of what I think about with regard to the organism that might have a certain kind of precision, you know, kind of like the you know, the average piece of hearing, the average piece of seeing, and then there's the whole outlier piece, right? There's the outlier piece of seeing and hearing in very unique ways. And I think some part of that is the gift that people are given, right? And some part of that is an emergent process from having a challenge in the organization of the system. I think there are different pieces that are salient here, you know, and to think about vision and audition, you know, or hearing, the vision sits on the organization of hearing and the vestibular integrity, right? So your inner ear mechanism is both sensing movement and sound. And those bits and pieces of your inner ear mechanism are calibrated with the muscles of your eyes. So the muscles of your eyes are pulled around and precise or imprecise depending on how that system got organized, right? So, and if it's organized to be visually sort of precise, especially at near point, then things like traditional schooling makes sense. You know, it makes sense. Like the paper is in front of you, your eyes converge, it's right there, it's easy to stay on target. You know, you can take in the impression in these box-like environments where the sound is pinging off the walls. And, you know, it's like when you think about the sort of institutionalized environments like schools and that sort of thing, you go in and you're like, this is terrible. You know, they take sound meters into preschools and it's above OSHA standards for safety, you know, in certain preschools. You know, you get a small preschool room that has like, you know, a tile wall or like a hard wall, and then you add a bunch of, you know, hard furniture, and then you add a bunch of children, and then you add some electronic toys, and then you add, you know, and then all this additive thing creates an environment that will make you shut off your auditory system just to protect yourself, right? So some kids, you know, can swim in chaos, and some kids shut down in chaos. And if your auditory system, I think about my nephew who is a creative, and he, in kindergarten, he's like, I can't get my work done because it's just too loud. You know, we did the auditory intervention that, and it really helped him. You know, his little kindergarten work wasn't coming home. You know, he was able to focus because we worked on the mechanism that allowed him to attenuate sound in the environment, right? And imagine you're the kid who doesn't have the support to do that. You know, so then what do? You know, your behavior starts looking very unique. You know, you may want to go off to a safe space. You may go off into the contents of your imagination because you're smart. But like all this stuff that's happening around you, forget it. You know, it's like, no, you know, this is not salient to me anymore. I need to come and like, I'll be in my imagination. I've worked with so many folks who have sensory challenges, who have had running narrative stories in their mind their entire life, because that's where they felt safe. So they spent time there instead of trying to bridge into the environment. And then they become the behavior kid who's not paying attention, when really the environment isn't asking, why is it hard for this kid to pay attention? You know, and supporting it from there. You know, instead they're like, they're willful, they're this, they're that, they're the other thing. You get the kid who can't pay attention, so then you give them a diagnosis of ADD.
I'm gonna
They're willful.
I'm gonna
Get the kid who,
I'm gonna just move it up to a different spot for a second to see. This is a long conversation between both of us, and I sort of edited out part of the conversation. So there's a lot of salient pieces here, and as Melody said, yes, it's breathing spaces. Like, we need to breathe, we need to rest these nervous systems, we need to make the spaces that allow us to do that. And in that space with her, there was a lot of, they built like the whole thing, it's called Full Circle, and the whole thing was, it was like a gym, but yet everything was hanging and movable, and sailing hooks and sailing not hooks, wrong word, sailing mechanisms with knots and things that allowed people to spin and move through space, and structure that we can really move within and on. And so the ways that Stroopy builds and grows things, and they're dynamic. This is so often that we make these shapes and things and structures, and they're static. You can't feel your body move on them. And so, if you feel everything moving, when I stepped on Stroopy's tree ship, like, I'm moving with everything that's moving with it. And that's how everything is outside with nature. Like, the wind is moving and I'm moving with it. We're all moving in time with in this thing. And that really helps our nervous systems. And so, like, I feel like she's really addressing so many of those things here. And let me just see if this piece, I tried to click it, but yeah, I think if I try to go back there, I think we should I should right now, if there's any questions, and I as so far, I will, yeah, let me just go ahead, Zach.
Hey, it's not really a question. It's more of a kind of reanimation of like how the architecture is actually built.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can imagine like the buildings that are more biological.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what's so beautiful about here, because there's so many folks who are looking at architecture in new ways, in ways, I'm not going to say new anymore, but like, nature shapes a certain way, the rest of nature, and we've kind of built differently. We're not looking at the rest of how nature builds. So when we do, and we turn and we look toward that, we can understand the synergetics and the growing of our own bodies that grow to support us again. And so like, between, I've heard different folks within the studio speak about architecture and liquid architecture. structure, because it's like we are liquid, right? We're water. So how we are growing and shaping ourselves, and also just the frequency of that water. All those people who, when I think of trauma, I think of, I remember a story of somebody saying that when they looked into their mother's eyes, they just didn't see, they just saw vacancy, because the light gets shut down if there's so much trauma that the system doesn't know how to respond anymore. And so when the systems don't know how to respond, that feedback that we're getting back, that, again, we're right now, we're on this platform where we can't see eye to eye. You can't see the spark in my eye. So if you feel me beaming at you, or you feel the beams of others, we're connected by our hearts. Yet the electromagnetics of these systems are so profound, and when we can hold the space for ourselves, like, it's like, if you think of people who are really successful in the world, very often there's somebody that supports, they've been supported, the world's been supported around them in order for them to keep doing what they do. And so, because I believe creativity is our birthright, and I believe that we all should have nervous systems that know how to regulate, because that's what happens to me. And what I think, what I'm saying, what happens to me in thinking is that I believe that, the trauma knocks that out. And when it, like, the ways in which, like, I didn't have a manual, I didn't have like an autofocus lens on, like, I had to learn how to focus automatically when my body did it in manual ways, which is hard to explain, and I will get there, but yet, at another time, yet, all of these ways where we can use the structures we build and hang on and swing on and move on, and the making of them and the expanding of, like, these, I have one up here, one of these models, but the way that these models teach us, and the ways that we can learn whole new dimensions by them, that we then can shape with, and it grows new dimensions in our thinking and in our bodies and in our ways, the fascia that wraps around that, and all the information and all the electromagnetics and all the, it's like the brain and new neural pathways grow from that. So if anybody wants more, like, to hear more of Rita's conversation, or to connect in some way, please reach out to me here. Full of feedback systems, we could put the link up after, and I'm just going to weave Strupian, because the shapes behind me right here are part of some of the shapes that Strupi has been making and growing, and just the thinking expands when we come together and we play with these things, and we being all of us, we as humans, when we are making things and growing in these new dimensions and shapes, they expand us all. And so, it's what Bucky was teaching, and, there's information that didn't go through, and we're, it's like we're making the pools in the space so that we can be dynamic and expansive, because there's places where some information got really stuck, and, like, otherwise we wouldn't be building places that shut down our children's, sound system, whole, and that's the other thing, just to come back to for 1 second, with speaking of sensing and the senses, is like, they're not one or the other, and this one and that one, they like really weave together. And I just, it's like, I've been called a synesthesia, which is, somebody who has a condition where the senses cross. To me, it's that's the adaptation, and that's what she spoke to. Like, I literally asked Rita, I was like, please help me unbox the senses for people. And so she was responding to the questions that I was asking in order to weave this back in, so people can start to understand why these structures are so important. Not just that these are structures that are, this and that, but, like, how can we really grow with them? And so that's part of it. And it's part of, like, so this idea of making these playgrounds of life where we kind of grow them along, so that they get put into a mainstream, so that they can just be, worked through now. It's just time now to give back in. So, okay, Strupi, I'm going to pass it to you.
Well, thank you for all of that, and where to weave on from there is so many points to attach to, and I would like to perhaps bring up again that word you were speaking of. You said we are fascia. And that is very true, because we are, to a large degree, water. Every one of us, including the cat in the front of me here. We're mostly water, but we're water that, you don't have to put us into a cup or into a glass to give us shape, because we already come in shape. Water has a shape. Usually it's a sphere, a small droplet, or a big ocean, or something on the way between the two. But we are not machines, right? We're not mechanisms, we're organisms. And as we spread the word on synergetics, as Bucky called this understanding that we are calling spherical thinking, to have it a bit more, accessible, this spherical thinking can remind us of the way that we are, not in an abstract sense, but in the very reality of our being, in the very reality of our bodies. And within our bodies, you can't take us apart, right? That's why we are called an individual, because if you were to divide us any further, you would kill us. And I mean, okay, arguably there is still some degree of integrity to our body, even if we lose maybe an arm or a leg or something, which sadly happens to people all the time. And still they are full beings, right? But there are such organs within our organism that are so integral that we couldn't do without them. Yet the way that we've been making sense of the world, which is always ever just an approximation to reality, is one that works by taking things apart to look for the smallest constituent, to then go ahead and try to reconstitute the whole. And that is a futile exercise, because the very thing that makes life what it is synergy. It's not energy. Energy is what happens between systems. It's when we move and when we exchange information. But within the systems, what keeps us together is synergy. And synergy is the essence of the whole that you cannot find if you take it apart. You cannot find it in the parts taken separately. And the way that this is very, very obvious within our body, which we are only just beginning to get a sense of over the last couple of years, is within the one single organ of our body that is the one that shapes us, and that is what we call the fascia. And if you've ever, had a look into yourself, sometimes, that happens. Sometimes there is an operation, or, sometimes you look into somebody else, like you have a piece of meat and you take it, you cut it open and you find these filaments in there, these white kind of filaments, and usually they're a bit chewy if you do eat the meat. But these filaments are the remnants of fascia. And this is really an organ that grows within our body. And it is growing through the entirety of our organism. It grows through the muscles, through the veins, through the bones even. And even the bones, they are not, we are familiar with them only taken out of the body usually, and they look crystalline, they look, well, lifeless. But as long as they are members of our organism, they are more like a river of crystalline nature. And this fascia, this one thing that binds us all together, it is the organ of shape. It is what gives each and every organ of our body its very shape. And it is a system that in the language of synergetics we can call tensegrity, right? So this is a word that Bucky popularized or made up even, which comes together from tensegrity or tensional and integrity. It is the integrity of tension. And this is probably one of the most central principles of universe, because wherever you go in universe, there is one kind of tensegrity that you will always be embedded in. And we've heard it from Rita here, it's gravity. Gravity is the kind of universal tensegrity that binds all bodies of universe together. But tensegrity can also take this kind of shape where, you know, just a bunch of beads are strung up like a necklace, and they organize in a structure, because a structure is a triangle. It's simple as that. And whatever shape they come in, they are really able to move, because that is what they do. And if I have something as this is a rather complex system. You see each one of these connections between these points, as dear Mark brought up, the lines that are not divisive but connecting. These lines, these vectors here, in this case they are even a bunch of beads in a line, right? You see how I can bend them, I can have them shift their shape, yet overall this is very, very stable in its shape. But you see, when I make this whole thing almost identical, except leaving out these corners, I get this one. And looking at that, we see, oh wait, here is a big opening that is not a triangle. So what does that mean? It means that the triangles now have a degree of freedom to move. The other one couldn't do that because it's all triangles. This one can. And the kind of magic that binds these structures together is identical to the one that gives us our shape, gives us our bodies and our senses. And it is nothing that we cannot grasp. It is hard to explain, yes, because the plane is no good to make sense of the whole roundedness of bodies. But we are not limited to explanations. We're not limited to books and pictures and images of things. We're not limited to our imagination even. That is a story we've been told forever. Imagine you have a box. Imagine you have a point that is nobody. Imagine you have a line that is divisive and going to infinity. No more need for that, because if we practice spherical thinking, and it really is a practice, we can create these things, and you know, it's hard to label them. Is it a toy? Is it art, hard work? Is it, well, maybe it's an architectural model, right? It could be anything, whatever we perceive it to be, whatever we allow it to be. And it can teach us incredibly much about how things come to be. And here I want to make something very clear that I feel important, which is we have a tendency within our language, and you see, between you and I, Stephanie, we are very, very, and not just us, more than us, we're really, really aware of the words that we use. We choose them wisely because we want to have the words that we use attuned to the intention that we have with them, and not invoke with the words that we use something that is the opposite of what we want to say. So just to bring that together, we are oftentimes speaking of nature, and the way we've been thinking about it is not us. And if we are it, then we're just a part of it. But the truth is, there is nothing but nature and universe, except for a mental model that we've got encoded in our minds for the times of civilization past. And except for that non-living system that we've been trained to think in and to make believe and to approximate nature with our universe, reality, except for that, everything is nature, but the word falls short of what it is. And I want to just open our understanding of it by translating it back from the Chinese word for it, which I must say I'm not good with Chinese. I can't tell you the Chinese word for it, but the translation of that would be of itself so. You see, there is no laws of nature. There's principles and habits and patterns, but no laws. Laws have been made by people. What nature really is the being of universe being as it is, allowing itself to become what it can become. And we are absolutely identical with that. We are not separate from it, and we have all the capacities and more of that are embodied within our bodies, our senses, our capabilities of shaping and patterning and forming. And with that capacity, we can become whole again. We can become members of Earth that really care for the whole, and we can heal what has been broken, because the amount of effort and energy it took to break this system to the degree that it has been is infinitely less. I mean, it is too much of that, right? But it is dwarfed by the integrity and synergy of universe. And if we just align ourselves with that again, we have the whole of universe with us, within us, without us, around us. And with that on our side, there is nothing we cannot heal. There is nothing we cannot make whole again. And I'm speaking for too long because, again, we're embedded in an organism here that is running a tight ship, as they say. And there is more that we wanted to do, and we're already coming over the time here. So maybe we can invite Melody in finally, because we wanted to have a little play with you people and play some synergy with you, some synergetics, because that is what it is there for, to be played by heart. Hi, Melody.
Hello, everyone. So
we can also we can also weave in with the, you know, so we're going from unboxing the sensing, these wisdoms, and then we're like in, you know, the next part of what we're doing is we're playing together in, you know, what was called playing with synergy, right? I believe. So
let's play synergetics.
Let's play synergetics. So on to let's play synergetics. Yes, and it's fine to have that highlighted. It's hard to tell.
It was a full explanations by Stephanie and Struppy, so I really want to really breath all together, if it is okay for all of us,
yeah,
and really feel the synergy in our bodies. So let's start with that. Is it okay for all of us?
Yeah, can we put it in? Can we put the three back in? Are we in the view? Because I can't tell what's happening. Are we just together? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're all together.
Okay, I can't see it the same way. Okay, so yes, play all together.
Okay, and yeah, like maybe just with a smooth 3 breaths, starting all together. and we are 30 people here. And so, like as Stephanie mentioned and Strupi mentioned about the fascia that is really holding us and really supporting us and really creating us, the water as the main ingredient is shaping of our universe also and making the life. So I really want all of you to feel the water around your area. So with the air elements, like maybe just breath in and feel the air around, and breath out. And when you feel and breath in, feel all your fascia that is really linking all of us. And breath out. And feel all the air all around you, sensing in your skin, in your cheeks. And breath out. Welcome to PLANetARY. Thank you for this wonderful connection, Stephanie and Strupi. And I didn't have time to share it with you. And I did a little presentation, and I want to share that one and what we're gonna do today. And we will be really glad to see all of you who want to play with us. And we will experiment, we will do some experiments with little things, as Strupi have already shown with so many different levels of explanation. And today we will do a little hands-ons, and they will be totally connecting all of us. And I need to share, but somebody is sharing now. Stephanie, and can you stop sharing?
Yeah. I'm not sure how to stop sharing. Okay, I got it.
Okay, perfect. So little clues are coming. And from Einstein, I really want to start with why we are playing now, because play is the highest form of research. So that's why we want to create a playground to feel the synergetics a little bit different. And I want to put Buckminster Fuller's wonderful explanation of what is synergy. And he mentioned behavior of whole systems, not implicit in any of the behavioral characteristics of any of the parts of the system, when these parts are considered only separately. So the wholeness is always bigger than the parts' behaviors. And I'm really taught from nature that structure and function correlation is the thing that really creates the life. And as you see some shapes, and these are totally about the natural shapes, and really nature teaches us. And one of my questions is it really 1 + 1 = 2? So this is a big question for me, and I'm still dealing with answering lower and upper every time. So there's always a golden mean between them. And we want to start today with a little hands-on. And as we talk about the primary shapes of nature. So as we know, 1 unit, we can define it like dots. So 2 units, what occurs there? And from our childhood, I think we know it there is line between 2 dots. And for connecting two dots, there needs a correlation. And so when we see 3 dots, so does it make, what does it make? Like, how can we explain it? Like for the circumstance and like the lengths, and which creates area. So from 3 dots in my high school and in my childhood, I learned that from 3 dots, we just get surfaces. As Drupi have mentioned about the planes, plane thinking. So I really wonder and ask you, is it possible to make more than surface with 3 dots? And this is the question that I wanna hear from you. And Drupi is showing us a triangle. Do you think, is there any more than creating 3 dots? More than a plane? Is it possible?
Well, my answer to your question would be that it's impossible to create a surface with 3 points, but we always get a plane with them. That's the thing with the 3-legged stool, that wouldn't rock, only tip over. But however uneven the ground, the 3 legs will always sit. And that is because between them they make a plane.
So is it possible? More than plane?
Well,
Any
what do you say?
answers?
Is this a riddle? Is there an answer to that question?
Well,
Like-
so the Bucky answer, right? There you go. Oaken is getting there. If you take it apart, right? If you take the triangle and you start to open it up, so it's vectors, now you can actually use 2 of them to create a tetrahedron. That's the Bucky answer. I'll put a link into the figure from Synergetics.
So if
That's
it is
now 4 points.
You're saying Bucky is cheating, Stroopy?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Well, I
But-
would say it's not a full 4 eyes yet. You know, there's still something that we can add to it. But yes, of course, it's not an abstract thing, so it extends already into full space-time. And you're going for the curve, aren't you, Melody?
I
I
just want
see.
to ask you, like, can you manage, if you bring with you some papers, can you manage to cut the same size of 3 papers, 3 strips?
I will
From
see
one
if I
paper.
can get some here. So this is a call to everyone. Everyone who can get some paper and cut 3 strips of them. And
Same size?
just for the occasion, I even brought some rectangular papers.
And do what with it?
Cut 3 stripes of it.
Okay, and then what?
3 strips.
I will explain.
Okay,
One by
all
one.
right, hold on.
David,
So what you
it is a
what
surface, right?
what's the surface?
David was showing something, but I
Oh.
couldn't see clearly because of the Zoom stuff.
I can't seem to get my background off. It's a coffee filter. I have a few
Okay.
of these coffee filters. Should I fold it into a triangle? Does it matter? Them?
I'm
I
just
have,
asking like 3 lines.
3 strips. Like
3
here's
strips.
one. And by the way, I already organized, because we are in a big thing and there is always too little time. But we will move into a breakout room when we overextend, so we can take all the time in the world and move on in there and keep playing, right? Just so we don't have to worry about that. I got one strip already. I'm
We
gonna
have
get
like
more.
40 minutes, I guess, right? Totally.
Well, we kind of all went over already with our little wisdom growing.
Another 10 to 12 minutes, and then you can go in a breakout room for as long as your heart desires.
Awesome.
Let's see.
I'm coming on to 2 strips here. And as we do this, well, there's one thing I would like to say about synergetics, because maybe we haven't been putting that out there yet, but synergetics is an experiential kind of mathematics. So don't worry about mathematics. I'm not a mathematician, and I'm very bad with numbers. But the beauty about synergetics is it is hands-on. It's always everybody can model these things. Everybody can model them. And as we model them, we don't need to know what they turn out to be, because that's what they show us, the models, when they become. So everything that synergetics is concerned with is reality. It is the bodies, and it is always mindful of the material. And we're not doing anything with abstract two-dimensional stuff here. We're working with the body of the paper.
And you can make the paper just in half strippy.
Oh,
because
yeah.
they are so long for you. So that's why, like, maybe.
I could have skipped some work here, you say, but I almost got my 3rd strip.
Okay.
I don't know where I put my scissors.
Ask you, like, please focus for a minute and try to answer this question, like, what do you want to learn from nature? And please write what is coming through you with a word, with a sentence on these stripes.
So now I have to conjure up a pen as well. Good thing I got one in my pocket. Well prepared. Well prepared.
And after that, like, just try, is it possible to make more than a surface with these 3 stripes without breaking them? Just try with your hands. Is it possible to engage all of them with a structural order, with a systematic order? Whatever you want, David. 3 things is much better, I guess.
I really like where this is going. I mean, I kind of know where you're going. It took me a moment to remember though. But I really like where it's going. This is a good thing.
Well, 3 points defines a sphere. Like if you have 3 points, you can pass a sphere through those 3 points. So yeah, it could be a plane, but it's still two-dimensional. A sphere is a two-dimensional surface.
Nope. No.
Well,
a
actually,
Greek sphere, maybe.
No. In spherical coordinates, a sphere is two-dimensional, just like a plane, because a plane, X and Y vary, but there is no Z. You have no Z dimension. And on a sphere, there's no radius variance. The radius is equal across the whole surface. So it's only a sphere is only two-dimensional surface in spherical coordinates.
But it is more than plane, right? The Atlantis.
Yeah, but if your head is stuck in Cartesian coordinates, then yes, 3 points defines a sphere.
So can you manage to link them?
Like with
two of them?
with
However
tape.
you want, like with a tape or like with stepper.
Staplers?
Yes,
I'm taping. I'm taping.
Yeah, taping.
I'm the tape kind of person.
Or knitting, weaving.
Really good old days when I had the tape recorder, and you know how it is, just taking the tape apart and spreading it all over the place. But you wouldn't believe what is possible with tape, all the stuff we can do. All right, so I'm putting you over that. Yeah.
Yes.
And look what happens. Oh, mighty right angle. What are you doing to this?
So this
piece
right
of paper?
angle connection is the key somehow.
Yeah.
Beyond the box,
Dynamics.
maybe.
This is bringing the right angle back to its dynamic nature, allowing it to actually move and breathe.
You could blow a bubble through it.
Can you share, Stephanie? Put it on your head. Totally to fix it.
There you go. Perfect. Oh, I love that.
It is great. And here's the big question: what is this? What is this pointing at? Who knows? Somebody knows. Who knows? What did we just make? Is this still a plane?
Yeah, it's a plane. It's a surface. It's not a plane.
It's an eye. It's a curved eye.
That's great circles, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, 3 segments out of great circles. Or 3 great circles, and there is a specific system that comes with 3 great circles. Looks like this.
Yeah.
And this is essentially the curved version of that.
And one day, when we got together, we can link all of them and create a sphere together.
Nice.
Oh yeah. And until then, whoever wants to do it on their own, just make 8 of those and see if you put them together, if they come together to make a whole sphere.
Cool.
Oh, you can make a whole sphere by taking your hands with soap bubble mixture. So if you have Palmolive, and really a really good thing to use with it is KY jelly. It sounds really funny, but it makes really wonderful bubbles. And if you pour it in a dish, okay,
Not a
and you
goal.
take your hands and you put them in the mixture, right? Get them all wet, and then you hold it up in that same shape and blow through. You will be blowing bubbles. If you go outside at night and put a headlamp on, or be with somebody else who has a flash, like a camera light or something, you will be able to watch instead of it go along the surface, which we usually see with soap bubbles. It's on the surface. You get to see the dance on the inside, and you blow it right through, and then you could spin the air around it, and it really shows you the dynamics that happen within, with light bouncing around that beautiful shape that we can make just by.
How the surface moves, right, Stephanie?
What's that?
And how the surface moves on the bubble.
Yeah.
The motion of the surface, right?
Bounces on the inside instead of just moves on the outside. So you really get to see what's always here. We're so used to thinking that things are invisible or uninvisible. Same with spider webs, right? You know, it's like we're not seeing the links. So right here, like sometimes the links become invisible, but they're always really there. We're just not capable of always seeing them. So if we can understand that it's all there, we're all already linked. And these are the ways that we can move dynamically and grow dynamic. grow around.
Cool.
This is the other thing, like you can directly move the surface from up to down.
Yeah, inside out.
Yeah.
And it becomes
Concave and
it also
convex.
becomes a net, right? If you pull it really tight, you get a trampoline.
But it is really synergetically forcing each other to create that volume, or like
Yes.
really. So this is the
That-
thing
that curve,
we want to experience. And
And-
the other thing that I want to share, like today in Turkey, it's a important Republic Day, and this day is presented for the children. So this day is called Children's Day in Turkey. And I'm really happy with your inner child to play synergetics for today. And thank you for this wonderful sharings with all elements and with our own fascias.
Wow. That was a lot of connecting the dots. And you guys gave it all you got. And there was a great participation. And I know that Ed has worked a lot with domes. And so he was sharing his insights. And I'm here in a geodesic dome home.
Nice.
And, that's all connected to, the story of Bucky and how we all got here. And I really appreciate, Melody, that you brought up that it's a day of recognizing children, as Bucky so loved children and he would be with people, and if there was a child that would walk in the room, he would just go right over to them. And I've seen a number of his writings for children, and it's just wonderful.
And
you want to say?
he himself was the most grown up of all children in the world. I mean, it's such a beautiful thing to watch him in his lectures when he speaks. Particularly, I think a great moment is when he goes into the necklace model, and he becomes the child right away, and he shows that, because what he's tapping into there is our innate wisdom that we are born with, that we bring with us into the world, that is educated out of us because we're educated in ignorance. And the reason why he and I myself, and probably many of us, are drawn to the children right away, to the little people, is that those people have not yet been as indoctrinated. They are still unconditioned to a degree, and they are much more in tune with their own being and their senses.
And I think that had a lot to do with his notion of being a generalist and learning as much as you can in every which way. Yeah.
So I just want to say that playing, its studies have been done, but like we can teach and we can do repetitive stuff, but it takes like 60 times to learn by repeat, and it takes 8 times or something to learn by play. It's sort of like we came in playing and we didn't have judgments on each other. And, you could probably still call people you played with years ago as kids, because that connection becomes so just beautiful. So like all the connectivity of all of this is like, to reconnect us back to the picture of who we are and bring us back to where we fit in, because the only model that we can use is this universe model. Everything else creates corruption. It's too small. So when we build from these models, like nature builds, we really are getting somewhere new, but new neural pathways. So thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you all for helping us play outside the box.
Without, indeed. And may I ask, we're probably coming to the end of our scheduled time on this platform, but whoever wants to play on, we've got a few more tricks up our sleeves that we would like to share with you. If you would come join us in whatever the breakout room is called that has been
Breakout room, it exists.
set up for us.
It is called Synergetic Play Fun.
Yay! That sounds
play and fun.
awesome.
How do you find all these rooms? Like the schedule doesn't have all that detail.
Oh, that's the if you click on the button that says more, there's a little breakout room, and then the breakout room is where they're going. And I'm actually about to republish the schedule so that new things will appear. It's happening right now.
Beautiful.
Okay.
So see you in a bit, whoever comes with us.
There's Synergetics, Play Fun, Green Room, and Serendipity.
Yep.
Synergetics Playroom.
Okay.
Play fun.
Play fun. Yeah. All righty. Well, thank you all. Anybody wants to join them, go ahead. But we are going to be here with Pamela. And Pamela and I made friends because another collaborator, somebody who helped me in New Art City, we have more of the Museum of Regenerative Art. That's quite an exhibit going on. And you want to check that out. But the thing that really intrigued me about Pamela was a story, a film, a weaving that she wanted to tell. And so first I'm going to tell you a little bit about her, and then she'll go on to tell her tales. Pamela is an artist and fabricator focused on using the components of reality to make something new. She solves leftover scraps into furniture and unplanned moments into photos and videos. Now she is transforming today's visions into tomorrow's regenerative economy through nonfiction, a game for collaborative story building. Pamela, welcome. And I don't see a saw in your hand. So how are you going to build that without those tools? I'm curious to hear.
Well, we'll see. Huh? We still have to prototype. So hopefully soon, like in this summit. Okay, let me get to share the screen.
You have to click portion.
All right. Oh, wow. Okay. Can we see?
Yes,
Oh,
the beautiful Protopian image, and it looks like you're sharing audio, so we're good to go.
Mm-hmm. So I have a clear idea of how our regenerative future will look. And I want to tell the story about how we move from here to there. From here to there. For years, I have played with this vision of Mother Earth taking over management of the planet and establishing her way of exchange. The Mother Earth story is a way of telling the story of our transformation, but I know it's not the only way, and it's not the whole story. The story of our evolution is big, but it's made up of many decentralized pieces. This used to feel like an impossible task, but recently I opened my eyes and I found myself inside Design Science Studio Chrysalis, surrounded by other open eyes. And together we are imaginal cells ready to build a new, beautiful stories. We are many voices, and so we need a space and a way to work together. So I want to develop a platform for story building. The platform will create a space for grouping ideas and collectively editing them with the goal of co-creating an ever-changing mother story of our evolution. This will happen through a game I am calling nonfiction, a name that describes my hope from bringing utopia into reality. The goal of the game is about people deciding together where each piece fits within the ever-expanding web of nested narratives. The game creates paths, uplifts what people care about, elevates points of consensus, and develops a core of narrative shaped by everyone. And okay. And so the Mother Earth message is like the first seed I will plant in the story platform. And it will evolve into some other story, some story that I'm dreaming about, and many other stories that I cannot even imagine. But here is the draft of the video, of the message. All right. Can you see the video?
So far, it looks like it will play, but let's find out.
I am Mother Earth, and I'm reclaiming management of the planet and establishing a transitional system that will incentivize regenerative action to restore balance and harmony. In our new world, everyone will have housing, healthcare, and universal income. Beyond that, all compensation is solely based on regeneration of resources. You will have access to information to understand your choices, and you will be able to proactively invest in what matters to you, from your health, personal development, local food systems, to the needs of the planet. Through these investments, we will build new infrastructure, and all systems will be rebuilt and improved using efficient ecological technology. All will be cooperatively owned. We will invest in systems to sequester CO2 by improving soil and ocean health, innovating new methods of food production, expanding the forest, and building biodiversity. And I will hire artists to document it all and inspire continued evolution. We will teach anyone who would like to learn new skills, and anyone whose businesses require radical transformation will be supported to find a new role. No one will be excluded. We are building towards a world where we enjoy a higher quality of life. Our systems will be so healthy and efficient. This will leave us with plenty of time to dedicate to our families, our health, our learning, developing our craftsmanship, and other pursuits that bring us joy. When we thrive as individuals, our families and our community and the planet thrives too. I'm inviting everyone to become a citizen of this new Earth system, a citizen of a borderless Earth where we all are connected and working on our wellness and evolution. And that's it. I don't know, any comments or any questions or...
Wonderful.
Thank you. All right.
Sharing what you've got. Here comes Roxy, maybe.
Oh, we have Della. Oh, I am one with the painting, but let's have Della. Let's have Della. Della, what do you think?
Can't hear you.
You're on mute. You're muted.
Yeah, totally amazing, Pamela. I think that it's beautiful the way you've pulled that all together, because I know about a month ago I was talking to you about it and seeing a little bit of what you were working on. You must have done a lot of editing. It's totally amazing. And the concept is wonderful. It brings not only a vision, but it also brings other people into the fold of thinking, what is the story here? What, kind of neat to have the interactive thing going on. And there's such potential there. It's really beautiful. And I must say, Pamela was kind enough to take me up on the New Art City, because Star Galaxy was on the New Art City and I couldn't get to it very well. So she, with her fancy computer, got me up there and showing me all sorts of things. It was very exciting. But when are you going to show your New Art City I'm just curious because I know it's the same thing, right?
Yeah, like, and that's gonna be because I have other stories that I want to show this week, and so they're like part of some of that, you know, like so it's like bits by bits.
Oh,
You know,
bits
this
by
is
bits,
not
yeah.
the only story.
Bit by bit.
I have more, and so my problem is I have problem like connecting them. So I've decided that I am going to create something so that other people can connect them. Because
Right. Good idea.
see?
Good idea.
And I am excited to see how I can work on the you know, other member of the SS or other story that I can find around, and trying to pull together other story. This is all ripped from the internet, you know, like there is not much that I've made. I only put them together and put a voice over, but I want change this with images from work people have, and conversation. We can talk about it and see what fits better, or what we can change, or where we can add, and you know, there is like a whole world of possibilities.
Absolutely.
You know, what I find interesting in this is, again, this notion of connecting the dots and threading. And I think, you know, part of the challenge is in nonfiction, nothing is linear, right? And the stories don't come linear to us. They are bits and pieces that the receiver then figures out how to connect the dots, right? And so I'm really curious, when we make short stories or bits and pieces, these spheres of influence that are coming from within, we're sharing outwardly, how others receive those, and then it becomes a new shape, a new form for them. And yet we're trying to find this common thread, that we understand where we are, that we are here with Gaia, our mother, who has something very special to tell us, this umbilical cord that connects us all.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you. And are we off?
Yeah, no, you'll be on for quite a while. I can tell you're excited. You're going to be doing your thing, and maybe you'll be integrated with Bella a little bit. And I know Julian's probably out there. I know I really want to play. I really would love to throw.
Julian too.
Yeah, Julian. Yeah, I mentioned him.
Yeah, I think
a lot of people could add to and create something incredible. It's neat that you got to left it wide open, and you just have to figure out a time where you can get the people together and brainstorm and add, you know, that's going to create.
Yeah, and I have another story that is really like economy, like how the new economy, like it's so far away from the utopic message from Mother Earth. Then there is like the way that an economy, alternative economy or economy of shift can work. And that will be also interesting to play the game with that too, and to update or change even, you know, like it can go from like aesthetics to wording to, or even technical stuff. And like, so that's why I like this setup, and we'll see. And you can start from very little, you know, you can start just like manually putting together this thing, and then maybe automatize it. Who knows, you know, there is lots of possibility. It's always open to any kind of development.
Yeah, and you know, we've seen that. We talk about what we've come from, the work that we've been doing. We talk about a future, a more beautiful world our hearts know is possible. We talk about collaborating. And then we talk about this floating city that has just landed, Regenera, and presenced us all here now, that eternal now. The collaborations that have happened already over these last 8 months together have been phenomenal. And it shows in these nonfictions that are floating through Topia and New Art City. And I just hope everybody gets a chance to go visit those over the week, and they'll be there longer. They'll be lingering as artifacts where people can step into this commons of mind, this noosphere that we've woven together. Thank you so much. I'm hoping that we're going to have another visit here from Roxy. And I imagine Nico's going to be joining us. And let's see if we can sing them into being. Oh my goodness. What? Who? What?
Oh God. Oh.
This is my traditional outfit of regenerative.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
That's very Egyptian.
That's beautiful.
Well, we put to do our annual rain dance.
My dots, little tiny dots of rain that provide us this rainbow that Bucky's.
We are very close to the clouds. We just need to tickle them a little bit and then it rains very easy.
Oh, yes. You told me a little story about the clouds and the mountains and tickling. And that was, yeah. What happened there in that story?
You tell me. I tell you a story. Now you have the knowledge. You can share it.
Well, if I remember correctly, there's a story about a cloud and a mountain. And that cloud, by the way, was just photographed by me the other day on this mountain, which is the essence of a volcano that's been there for quite a long time. And here you see it balancing right over it. And what I heard was that the mountain tickles the cloud, and the cloud starts giggling, and then the mountain starts laughing so hard that it just pees itself.
That's how rain happens. So you know now.
Okay, thank you. All right, where we go from here, Nico?
Important knowledge. Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you. Dela, your hand is raised. Do you want to say something before?
That was what got her here.
Oh, is that okay? That's just cool. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, guys, for all your wisdom and listen.
It's all about imagination.
Oh, definitely, it's all about imagination.
Yeah, imagination.
Nico, you missed the opportunity to force her to make a pledge to regenerate.
Oh, let me make my pledge to regenerate. Hi, Lucy.
Hi.
Do you like my traditional outfit?
Yeah, it's made by Ángela del Sol.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
She's
from Colombia.
She's a revolutionary.
Sí.
So fun.
Revolucionaria.
Okay, let's
Lulu.
get you here. Where are you?
Lala
You
Lulu.
have a picture?
No, I don't have a picture. Don't have a picture, man. Hold on. It's crazy.
Okay, Mark, I feel you should be here with us.
Okay.
Okay, I'm here.
Legs are too spread, Nico.
Oh, I'm legging just the word. All right, so I have a question for
wait,
you.
Wait. Hold on. We gotta start the thing again. Bum, ba, da, 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 do, 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 do. Ba, 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 da, da, beep, boop. Da, 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 da. Gotta start the stream again.